All right, welcome one and all to episode 7 of the Yank and Kiwi podcast. Nothing to add to
Indeed.
that. Yeah. Yes,
Well,
we are.
normally you then continue to the rest of the introduction section.
Yep. Here are your hosts, Brett, the handsome and charismatic one.
And me, Sam, the I can't remember what I normally say. I think the funny one who never shuts up, and something about me not having a receding hairline, unlike Brett. And
Yeah, well, Brett also has ways of triggering Sam. You guys can't see this, but Sam can.
I don't like avocado, and it looks like he has guacamole there.
Damn right, bitch, I do.
Fair enough. It's not that triggering.
I'm eating chips with guac in front of Sam because I know it'll trigger him.
If you really want to trigger me, you've just got to you got to talk about how I'm blanking on his name. You got to talk about how Kurt Cobain was the greatest singer and songwriter and guitarist ever. That'll trigger me. Thankfully, no one seems to believe that anymore. Like, people still love Nirvana, but no one will seriously argue that Kurt Cobain was like the greatest songwriter ever.
Yeah.
But some would argue, some did unironically argue that like 10 years ago. I know there's a lot of Nirvana, like even as recently as, but now I know there's a lot of Nirvana fans. I'm not one. But we can all agree, I hope, that he was nowhere near that.
He was more of a guy that happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Yep. For sure. Now, have you seen this, a gay porn studio is being called racist? Because in one of their movies, a guy used a didgeridoo as a dildo.
Oh, how is that racist?
Because didgeridoo, Aborigine culture, something like that. Here's the freaky thing about it. The really disturbing thing. In the article I saw, and I'm going to link you a screenshot of the article I saw, which has a screen cap. It's safe for work, don't worry. Of the porno. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but this guy looks an awful lot like Austin Peterson.
I'm gonna have to remember
Libertarian
where I know him
Republic
from.
guy. The guy who runs the Libertarian Republic. He ran for the Libertarian Party last election.
Yeah, well, I think he might have flown under the radar thanks to Gary Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah. And he wasn't a retard, unlike Gary Johnson.
Let me take a look. All right, let me take a look at a pic of Austin Peterson. See if
It's quite uncanny.
I kind of see it.
It's just there enough to be really creepy. Oh, God. One of the replies to this tweet, Christ, if you can get a didgeridoo in there, cultural appropriation is the least of your problems.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, a didgeridoo is not a narrow device.
There's a wide end and there's a thin end, and the thin end's still like that. The quite thin end is still quite big. I mean, it needs to be thin enough that you can get your mouth around it. Oh God! Okay, insert that's what she said here, reference.
Yeah.
But it's still quite wide even on that end. You know, it's still like that. I mean, no one can see what I'm doing except you, but it's still wide enough that.
Just look up pictures, people. You'll know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Did he play the didgeridoo though?
Yeah, before we
You know what? If this were hentai, what would have happened was he would have shoved the wide end up the guy's butt and then proceeded to try to play it while it was up the guy's butt.
Oh, Lord. You didn't. That's exactly what would have happened. That is
Do you
what would
remember
happen.
The infamous yaoi. I'm not saying you've seen it, but I'm gonna guess that you've heard of it. Called Boku no Sexual Harassment. That was famous because a guy stuck an ear of corn up the other guy's butt in one scene.
I think I might know of the name and nothing more.
More than just that, apparently there was another scene where he shoved, not the neck, the thick end up the other guy's butt as well.
Oh my fucking god.
Bad idea. Why that is a bad idea. Pressure plus glass. As some men have learned, there is an infamous video that I've not personally seen, but have heard of a guy who shoved a glass jar up his butt, and the pressure actually broke it. And you can imagine what shards of glass in your butt would do.
I feel sorry for the surgeons who had to remove it.
Yeah. Yeah. So do I. Don't... People, pro tip for people, do not stick stuff up your butt that is not meant for sticking up your butt. Preferably don't stick stuff up your butt at all, but if you're going to, use stuff that's specially made to not damage it or break it as if you use lube. Oh, and use lube. Always use lube. And no, butter does not count as lube. No, oils do not count as lube. No, whilst people use coconut oil, that does not count as lube, because you know what coconut oil does? It makes your skin feel all nice and moist for a little bit, and then it dries it out in the long run. Yes,
I don't even want to know how you know this shit.
Coconut oil, because I tried it for my eczema. And coconut oil being used as lube is, I don't even know how I know this. I just do. It's a bad idea. Use actual things that are made to be lubricants. Just...
Preferably something with shea butter oil in it.
Yeah. Also, bear in mind, certain kinds of lubricants will break down condoms because of latex. I think it's oil-based, but I could be wrong. So people, be sensible. I can't believe we just had this.
You know, sticking a glass jar up your ass, that just sounds like something that they would have done on Jackass.
It does. I just have to say that I find it funny that
actually
somehow got onto the topic of things being shoved up people's butts, and Stacy wasn't somehow involved.
Oh shit! I'm gonna have to link this to Stacy when we're done. She'll get a lot right out of it.
She was fun that time we had her on the stream. She should totally guest on a podcast episode sometime.
Oh yeah, yeah. But yes,
just a freewheeling random. But yes,
seriously. Seriously. How is it that was not something that Jackass did? I mean, it is something those guys would have done.
I'm not sure. That really does seem like something they'd have done.
Yeah. But yes, but before we lose the plot, as we are wont to do, we're gonna talk about stuff. We're gonna talk about stuff we've been watching before we get onto the main topic.
Yep. So do you want to start?
Sure, I will. I have been rewatching Transformers Beast Wars.
Very good.
Yes.
I used to love that show. I gotta rewatch that sometime, man.
Yes. CG, ancient by today's standards. Very sure it was groundbreaking for its time. It was, I think, like early mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of ashamed that my parents did not even bother renting the tapes for it, because I probably would have loved it. Maybe they just didn't.
I think it ran 96 to 99, and we never got it till like the early 2000s. And I was like to Deante, because we were talking about it at some point, and I went, but I swear I watched it in like the early 2000s, so was it repeats? And goes, no, we just got a really big delay for some reason. I'm like, okay. So, yeah. But, you're gonna give it props though for doing the CG thing. Like at that point, that was quite a. Now I'm not a big. I prefer mostly non-CG animation, but it still was quite a risk to take, really.
Dude, an even bigger risk was
that
them
point.
not using any of the original Transformers characters, and even more, having them turn into animals.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
if anyone has watched any of SF Debris' videos on it, I think he mostly talks about it in the first episode he reviews. He talks about how much of an uphill battle Beast Wars had, and if he had been handed that, he would have just broke down and said, "I can't do this."
Yeah, I always loved the designs of them, both as animals and as robots.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the characters were just probably some of the best in Transformers has ever had. I mean, Rat Trap. Who doesn't love Rat Trap? I'm pretty in fact, let me just say it this way: Rat Trap is what happens when you make Sam into a Transformer.
Oh God, I don't remember any of the details. I don't remember the specific characters. I just remember it was a show I liked and it had really cool art.
Yeah, well, Rat Trap is a cynic
cool
and
design.
Rat Trap's a cynic and asshole, and his catchphrase is, "We're all gonna die."
So here's what would happen if you removed my ability to swear and turned me into a Transformer then.
Yup.
Right.
Yep. And of course,
So it holds up?
yeah, I would say it does. Despite the advances in CG animation, I would say the show's writing at least has aged fairly well.
Well, the most important thing, and I always argue this with video games, but more important than the quality of the animation or the graphics is the quality of the design. So the aesthetic of it. If it has a really great design, so great design for the robots and the characters, it's going to hold up a lot better than something with better graphics or better animation that had mediocre.
Well, on that
to me,
front,
at least.
On that front, I guess this is gonna get a bit muddy because not everyone is gonna like the aesthetic. Because
that's true.
The robots. I guess the robots and animals. Yeah, some of them look okay. Some of them look a little bit. Probably look a little bit awkward.
Okay.
Because it was early '90s CG.
Yeah. So they couldn't necessarily always quite do justice to the designs.
Yeah, like I said, this you really have to be willing to forgive how badly the CG has aged.
Right.
Of course, I would also say it's not worth holding it against it. It's just something you have to be willing to be conscious of.
If you can't get past that, then you probably shouldn't be rewatching it or watching it because it would just frustrate the fuck out of you.
Yeah. Oh, I would also say Waspinator is probably like the best comic relief character in Transformers history.
Okay.
Yeah, Waspinator, he's a Predacon. He's one of the bad guys, but his whole thing is that he's basically the universe's chew toy.
Nice.
He exists solely to get beaten up.
So does that make him the Beast Wars equivalent of Starscream?
No, because he's also kind of dumb.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, and the way he talks.
Starscream was hilarious.
Yeah. And the way he talks too. Oh, why does universe hate Waspinator so much?
Do you remember was it Enertron, that really terrible one?
Oh yeah, I barely remember it existed.
Starscream. So he became a good guy, and when he became a good guy, he actually became a badass, and it was just like, what? Why? That makes no sense.
No, wait, I think that's Armada.
Armada was part of the same continuity, eh?
Yeah, I know, but Energon was Energon was like the sequel, but Armada was
I remembered it being I remembered it being an Energon because it was with the same characters. Same human characters. But it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
None of this shit.
If you want to see a bad guy in Transformers have a more convincing face turn, just look at Dinobot.
Which one was he from again?
Beast Wars.
Right.
Interesting how all the Transformers from Beast Wars I name dropped were all voiced by Scott McNeil, by the way. But yeah, as for other stuff,
and he was everywhere around that time, wasn't he?
Yeah, kind of. He's probably Canada's biggest voice actor. You know, in fact, when they brought Waspinator into the Transformers animated series, they actually originally wanted to get Scott McNeil to do his voice, but they couldn't get him a green card.
Was he in Dragon Ball Z? Because the original Dragon Ball Z dub was an Ocean Group Canada dub.
I believe he was. He probably did the voice for Piccolo, I think.
Right, yeah, I was going to say, I feel like he would have been in that.
Yeah, there's actually a very... Here's something fun. There's an anime panel. It's a video of an anime panel. It's got Steve Bloom and Scott McNeil at it, and they're both doing their Wolverine voices.
Oh, man. Steve Bloom's in what I've been watching. One of the things I've been watching, but we'll get to that when you're done with what you've been watching.
But yeah, that's what I've been watching.
Have you been watching anything else?
Yes. Not so much watching, so much as listening. I've been listening to my boy Nigel, his bands, and dropped their new album. Unusual Subjects has dropped their second album.
Yeah, give that a plug. Give it a plug.
Yes, they dropped their new album, Not Suspect. And I gotta say,
where can people get this?
They're giving it for free right on Reverb Nation, and a few other places. Cool. I'll have to. Says I know I retweeted it on Twitter, I think, a few days ago.
Sweet. Well, I chuck the link when you post this on Facebook. Chuck the link in the comments. I've heard a few of their songs and I dig what I've heard, so I'd be up this album out at some point. And
yeah, let me put it this way.
Certainly, we should link it.
Yes. Let me put it this way. Unusual Subjects is now my favorite band that nobody has ever heard of.
Nice. They're, I suppose, technically a punk band, and I actually like them. So I'm generally a hater of punk. So yeah. That says something.
No, we're good.
So is that everything you've been up to that's really worth mentioning?
Been also rewatching Samurai Jack.
Yeah, I started that. I'm a few episodes, and that's the slowest of the things I'm watching / rewatching.
Yeah, I've been sort of hopping around episodes. I've just been hopping around from
I hop around a lot with what I watch.
That's actually what's good about Samurai Jack.
What you know.
That is what's good about Samurai Jack. Its episodic nature meant you didn't really have to follow it completely linearly. Yeah. You could just jump in whenever.
I mean, when I say, in my case, when I say I'm hopping around, I mean I'm watching 4 shows at once, or something like that. So I'm switching between shows. So yeah, I've been rewatching Samurai Jack as well. Holds up pretty damn well so far.
Yeah.
I've been rewatching Veronica Mars again because it's coming up. Day after tomorrow will be the 10th anniversary of the final episode of that show. I think I've managed to convince Brett that he should watch it so we can do an episode on it at some point.
Yeah, I gotta I just gotta track it down first because I'm not sure. I can't remember if it was on Netflix or not.
It's not on Netflix, but it's streaming on some other service. Go90, I want to say. That it's streaming free on there for like the month, for like a good month or so. But I think after that you have to pay. I'm not sure. I'll find it because they're plugging it on the Veronica Mars Facebook page. So I'll find that and link it for you. But yeah, 3 seasons in a movie. Fucking good shit, man. Yep. I rewatched that last year, and then I rewatched it twice last year. So this is the third time. This will be the third time I've watched it in 2 years, and boy, it's some good shit. And then I've been rewatching Daria. God, I love Daria. Have you seen Daria?
I know of Daria. I remember that it started out as a spin-off from Beavis and Butthead.
But infinitely better. I was never a Beavis and Butthead fan, but I love Daria. The frustrating thing with Daria is the DVD release. Buy the DVD release, but don't watch it from the DVDs. The reason for this is Daria was one of those shows that used a lot of popular music at the time. And unlike Freaks and Geeks, which did a similar thing where it used a lot of licensed music, and they waited till they could afford and to get the license for everything to release Freaks and Geeks on DVD, Daria, they ripped out all the licensed music and replaced it with generic music. It's not terrible, but I have it on DVD. I own it. I paid for it. And the first time I watched it that way. And then I found, oh, thank God, someone had done a restored one where they restored the original music, and I downloaded that, and that's what I've watched it the second time, and that's why I'm watching it this time. So yeah, you totally should check out Daria sometime, and as long as you buy the DVD, I will find you downloads for those restored versions because they are the way better way to watch it. Particularly, there's an episode, the last one I rewatched, where they go on a school paintball field trip in a forest area to teach them about war, and it's like got recreations of like tunnels from Vietnam era and a recreation of the Hanoi Hilton and shit. And there's one part where Daria's just wandering and she's got this voiceover, and it's a parody of Platoon, and it's really funny. And it's not as funny in the DVD version because they put generic music in there, but in the original TV version, what played was Rooster by Alice in Chains. So it's part of that during it.
Yeah, because
that episode is full of really funny Platoon parodies. Actually,
on the off chance you don't, those of you listening don't know.
Rooster. Cantrell wrote Rooster about his father, who was a Vietnam vet. And the music video of Rooster used the same had his father, and it had a bunch of Vietnam, recreated Vietnam stuff. Used the same military advisor as Platoon did. And actually, it's one of the greatest music videos ever. And I don't know if you know this, but the degree to which they went for this was the actor who plays the young version of Cantrell's father. It was actually a right-handed guy, and they taught him how to use a gun left-handed because his father was left-handed. So as to recreate it, it's a very impressive music video. It was actually pulled from MTV because they deemed it too violent.
Really?
Yeah. And it is often compared to like Platoon for like the realism of it, although it's less graphic. But it's a fucking great music video.
I'm almost certain
but yeah, Daria.
Somehow I would not be surprised to learn that at the same time MTV was letting Marilyn Manson videos play with no problem.
Yeah. I think they temporarily pulled it. I think people were like, guys, what the fuck? And they put it back on. I could be wrong.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna let Marilyn Manson play his videos on your station, you kind of don't get to.
Marilyn Manson music videos are certainly more objectionable than Rooster's music video, I would say. Yeah. Because Rooster's music video doesn't actually have any violence, if I recall correctly. It's mostly just walking through the forest with guns. which makes it jungle with guns, which makes it sound really lame, but it's actually awesome. But yeah.
So moving on to the topic at hand. So,
I'm not finished with what I've been watching, bro. And then I've also been, because I finished Cowboy Bebop, I then watched the movie. Pretty good. Could probably have been 10-15 minutes shorter. And the music wasn't quite up to the standard of the show, but it was still it's still pretty good and it has some great moments. I particularly like, I read a review of it where they said that it kind of like has trouble finding stuff for Faye and Ed to do, and the stuff with them feels like it's forced in. And like, no, the stuff with Faye is some of the best stuff in that movie. It's solid. It's not as...
If I can just get something in edgewise,
yeah.
One thing that I always wondered about that movie is, how can Faye do a chase in those heels?
Yeah, that's a lot of practice. I guess when you like to dress glamorously or, stylishly and gamble and then have terrible luck with gambling, you get really good at running on heels. Arrest her! Ah!
Yeah, because...
You get the idea.
Yeah, I mean... Okay, actually, if any chicks are actually listening, you're gonna have to explain to me how a woman can run in heels.
Yeah, walking in heels isn't half as hard as a lot of women like to make it out, at least reasonable heels. I know this because I have known female friends who've bitched about their heels, and I've gone, all right, let's see, and then gone, this is fucking easy. What the fuck are you talking about? Yes, I am. Yeah. Best characters in Bebop, definitely Faye and Jet. Love Spike, but Faye and Jet are my favorites. But yeah. And then because Bebop, I thought, hey, you know what? I've been meaning to watch Wolf's Rain forever, and that had most of the same production team, barring Watanabe. And so I've been watching that, and it's very, very good. I'm up to episode 20, I think. I think episode 19 was the last one I watched. I skipped the 4 recap episodes in a row. I do have to defend those because it's not really Bones' fault. Most of the studio production was shut down during those weeks because of the SARS outbreak, and they'd already paid for the time slots, so they kind of had to fill them with something. So it's kind of not their fault, and they're skippable.
Yeah, it's not like
but yeah, Well, the only thing is, and I read this, is it reveals that it was Quint who shot Kiba before the beginning of the show. Kiba's the one who shows up shot, right? Yeah, Kiba.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's Kiba. It really shows that the show had pretty much the same writers as Bebop. In terms of there's just a style to the writing, particularly the way it deals with philosophizing. It's really good so far. It's really well written. It's very smart. It's well paced, all that. I've not watched it. I don't think I've watched it in like a day or two just because I've been so tired, and it's a show you can't watch when you're tired. Yeah, it requires too much concentration, and I'm down with that. I love it.
Wolf's Rain is it's probably the most beautiful anime I've ever seen in my life.
In terms of the art, the animation, or what?
I guess I would say in terms of like everything. I mean, like it's got it's got gorgeous, just animation, gorgeous, just art, incredible music.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. It's a great show. I got through the end of. I think I got through like the end of the first episode of the first scene of the first episode before going, I bet you Mary Elizabeth McGlynn directed this dub. Yes, she did. The dub is awesome. She was on fire around that time, the early to mid 2000s. I can tell you immediately what anime I'm next going to watch. And it's going to be a rewatch because watching this. So Bones had two very sort of cerebral, symbolism heavy, deep shows in the early 2000s, in the early to early mid 2000s, sort of early Bones. There's this, and then there's Razafon. It's one of my favorite anime ever, and this has been making me go, I need to rewatch Razafon next. Razafon is so good. Have you ever seen Razafon?
No, I've not. I remember that my friends Jason and I think and Eric, and I can't remember if Trevor was in it or not. They're the guys from Storytime Reviews. They did a review of it.
Okay. It is such a good show. Again, it's got an awesome dub. This time it's an ADV dub. It's got Monica Rial actually playing an adult. It's got crisp.
It was like one of the last good ADV dubs, right?
It was an early ADV dub.
Really?
Yeah, dude. The show was from 01.
I'm trying to remember, when was it that ADV went out of business?
ADV went out of business like 07, 08, something like that. It was an early 2000s ADV dub. And it was one of the best. Chris Patton was in the lead. Now, there's a name you don't hear because he retired, which sucks because, fuck, he was a great voice actor.
Not entirely, because he popped up back in Drifters.
Okay. Well, he was retired last I knew, so evidently he's somewhat come back out of retirement, which is good, because that guy can act. It's got an excellent dub. The thing with Razafon is it's kind of hated on a lot by Ava fanboys who've never seen it because they go, oh my god, it's an Ava clone. It's not. It borrows from Ava. It's influenced by Ava. It pays homage to Ava. But you know what? And yes, there are even a few moments where it kind of recreates scenes from Ava, but with different things happening in them. But you know what? Ava did that all the time with other shows. Like, there's scenes from it that are like recreations of scenes from Onisama A and various other shows. Ava did that a lot. And then the other thing is, my understanding is, now I've not seen this show, but the director and people who have seen it say that actually it was more meant to be like a modern, redone, sort of deeper, more intellectual version of the original Brave Raideen from the 70s. Not really an Ava clone. It's not. It pays homage to Ava. It's influenced by Ava. It probably wouldn't have existed without Ava, but it is its own show. I think it's far smarter and it's far better as a whole. Like, it actually tells a whole story, which Ava doesn't. Even the end of Ava does not really tell a whole cohesive story.
Yeah, although you can put a lot of what's wrong with Ava on the on Hideki Anno. He's 90% of what's wrong with that show.
He's also 90% of what makes it good. So that's the thing, is his mental state at the time meant that he was going to do both the best and the worst of things, you know what I mean? Razafon is consistently brilliant. It's also very, very... It requires more concentration than Wolf's Rain. And every bit of symbolism in it means something. And every bit of symbolism in it, it's all like Mayan symbolism. Ancient Mayan symbolism.
Okay, so that's going to require a little bit of foreknowledge, perhaps.
Yeah. It's something where you'll want to have Google open. I'm not trying to put you off because it's an incredible show, but it is dense and a little impenetrable. And it's one of my all-time favorite shows.
If you want impenetrable, if you want impenetrable, just try watching the David Lynch version of Dune.
Is that the 80s one?
Yes.
Because I think that's on Netflix. I'm thinking about watching it. I still have trouble believing that anything could be more impenetrable than Angel's Egg, though.
Possible. I'll take your word on that. It's just saying that. Let's just say that David. Let me put it this way: the way SF Debris described Dune is that, if anything, David Lynch David Lynch tried to make it more comprehensive.
Okay, but yeah, rather fun. I've been trying to convince. So you should give rather fun a watch sometimes.
Yeah.
It's out of print here, but I believe you guys it got re-released by Sentai.
Probably.
So you guys should be able to find it easily enough. I was trying to convince Deante to as well, but he seemed interested, but. Again, he'd have to find an import, which isn't too hard. But yeah, I've still got my old ADV release of it. Well, Madman's sub-licensed version of the ADV release.
Yeah, you guys can't see this, but I can. Which
I got. I've probably had this 7-8 years. It's so good. I think I would have been about 15 when I saw the show. It made a massive impression on me. It was my favorite show for a very long time. My favorite anime. It's still well up there. But yeah, it's
top 5, top 3?
Top 10. It'll be top 10 for anime shows. Maybe top 15 if we're doing anime overall, because there's a lot of movies.
Really? You sound like you held it in such high regard. I would have figured it'd been like...
I did, and I still do hold it in very high regard. It's just, I've seen stuff since that I've loved even more.
All right.
But it's an awesome show, and you should totally watch it, and we should totally talk about it sometime, because it's great. It's a bit mind screwy as well, in a good way. Man, who worked on it? Because the people who worked on it, Yoko Kanno wrote the opening theme. It's got Maya Sakamoto on it. She didn't write the score. I want to say, I'm looking this up because Yutaki, so Yutaka Izubuchi created it. I mean, that's a name, all right.
What do we know from anything else?
Izubuchi, yeah, man. Let me just look it up. Yutaka Izubuchi. There is also a movie that's a retelling of it that doesn't work because it's like a 2-hour-long retelling of a 26 episode long show.
Yeah, you want to know how well that worked out? Just look at the movie that Escaflowne got.
Oh yes, but yeah, Izubuchi, he directed and created Razafon, but he's most well known. He created the Protect gear in Genro. He designed that. What else did he do? He did mecha designs for Gasaraki. He did some of the mech designs for Mobile Suit Gundam, Char's Counterattack. He did some design work for Eureka 7. A lot of design work. He did design work for Pat Labor Wasted 13, which is the third Pat Labor movie, which was the one Oshii didn't direct. Yeah. A lot of mech design. He did monster designs for a lot of tokusatsu stuff, like Kamen Rider, Triple O, and things like that. Designed a costume for one of the characters in the live-action Cutie Honey that Hideaki Anno directed.
Hideaki Anno directing Cutie Honey.
He directed a live-action Cutie Honey.
Wow. Now here's the real question. Did he do this before or after Ava?
Early 2000s, so after Ava.
Well, it should be a bit more uplifting then.
Yeah. Though you've got to remember, his pre-Ava stuff, not necessarily the most depressing. I mean, this is the guy who worked on fucking Gunbuster.
Yeah, I know. Like, anything, pretty much anything outside of Ava is Hideaki Anno being more cheerful.
Yeah. Oh, it is still in print here, but it was relicensed by Siren, who are the other main Australasian one here. Actually, I wonder if Razafon is still in print. Yeah. Sentai were the ones who I think relicensed it. No, I can't see anything on whether it's still in print in America or not. I'm sure it's not too hard to find.
Pretty sure you can find it with a quick Amazon search or maybe even an eBay search.
So am I. I just can't be asked us doing that right now. But sometime I think you dig it. It's a great show. But yeah, back to Wolf's Rain. I am loving Wolf's Rain so far. It's really smart. It's really well written. I dig how they obviously studied how wolves behave and then applied that to the wolf characters. They really don't feel like humans.
Yeah, they
characterization
didn't anthropomorphize them.
Yeah, the characterization is fantastic. The writing, again, great. Music, great. Animation, great. The background art, in particular, is fantastic. I love the tone. It's a really, really good show. Even if it requires quite a lot of you to watch and not get lost, just because it is very show not tell. It doesn't telegraph to you what's going on. And that's not a bad thing. It's quite dense. And none of those are bad things. It's just a warning to people who are...
Yeah, this is not like the typical anime that does exposition dumps every 15 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, but yeah, that's how it works, really. So, it's a really good show. And I think that's about everything I've been watching.
Okay, good place to lead off and to segue into our main topic.
No, there's one more thing. Since you mentioned what you've been listening to, the Broadway cast recording of the Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. Yes, that's the title. Dropped yesterday. Holy fuck, that's awesome. Anyone who likes musicals and hasn't checked this out, get it, check it out. It's good, and it's sung through all the way, so
wait,
you're not
there's
missing
no
anything.
Speaking parts in this musical?
No. There's like one part near the end that's spoken, but that's part of the score. So it's not, so it's sung through like Les Mis, which means I'm not normally quite as much of a fan of sung through as non-sung through, just because with sung through, so the way musicals tend to work is the singing happens when the emotions kind of reach a peak, right? And so they get so strong, so sing. With everything being sung through, that means that everything from the most mundane thing to the biggest thing is kind of put on a similar level. Now, sung through can be great. I mean, I love Les Mis, for example, and this show's awesome. But yeah, the benefit, of course, of sung through is it means that when you get a cast recording of it, you have everything. So you don't have to look up, a description of the plot and stuff and then not know how the book scenes. So the book is the script, right? How the book scenes play out. That's the spoken scenes. But yeah, it's great. It's well worth checking out. Anyone who likes musicals, it's weird. It's very eclectic. But it's fucking fantastic. Right. And anyone who's got 2 hours to kill, think of that and listen.
Right.
Anyways, our topic today.
Yes, our topic is, Sam, do you like video games?
Yeah, I suppose.
I like video games.
Somewhat,
Everybody
yes.
loves video games, right?
I mean, I guess. I think I love specific video games more than I love video games as a whole, honestly. But yeah, I like video games.
Yeah, me too. So
I wonder what we could be talking about.
Yeah, so today Sam and I are gonna be discussing. I guess the best way I can put it is succinctly early memories with gaming and our favorite kinds of games.
And some of our favorite specific games. So this is going to be similar to last week's history with anime thing, except it's going to be a little less specific.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go, how did we get into gaming or stuff? We're just going to talk about games that we played at various points that were memorable to us during our past. So, yeah.
Yeah, now me, I mean, like, I don't mean to get into my history, but this is kind of important because you need the context. I did not
History is just somewhat important. So for me, I just got to say, I never had a gaming console. The first gaming console I got, I was maybe 10 if we count Game Boy Advances. Otherwise, I didn't get one till late high school when I bought a PS2 because it was cheap second-hand and there were so many PS2 games I wanted to play, and I went, fuck it. So mine, somewhat. How about you? What were you saying? Sorry.
I was around 10 when I got my first gaming console. My dad got me and my brother an Xbox for Christmas.
Right, yeah, so we both, much of our gaming history is going to be, other than games we played at friends' houses, is going to be PC. At least our early stuff.
Well,
I would say. Certainly for me.
I think I would say my early stuff was definitely Xbox. PC is something I've only recently come into.
Okay, because most of mine was PC. Most of mine still is PC, in fact.
Sam is a member of the PC Master Race, if you can't tell.
Somewhat. Sure.
Oh man, you ever seen...
So what's like your earliest memories of gaming?
Well, my first game I ever played was a spaceflight sim that was based on the Phantom Menace.
Oh, okay.
It was Star Wars It was Star Wars Starfighter. It was
I don't remember that one, but did you ever play the one good thing to come out of the Phantom Menace, which was the pod racing game? Did you ever play that?
No. Maybe I might have seen the arcade version somewhere, but I don't think I ever...
It wasn't an arcade version. I think it was just PC and Nintendo 64.
Really? I seem to remember there being an arcade version. Maybe it's a different
It was probably a different game. So I used to play the PC version of that a lot. It's not my earliest gaming memory, but it's a damn good game. Problem is, the only way you can play it now is the Nintendo 64 emulated version, which wasn't as good, because it won't run on modern systems. And one of my friends who's very tech savvy has spent years trying to get it to run on a modern system somehow, and it just won't. Early 2000s, so it wasn't DOS or anything, so you can't use a DOS emulator. Current software just will not support it.
So there's no way to optimize it?
There's no way whatsoever. Oh, sorry, my throat's a bit sore. And I'm out of water. Fuck. Anyway, but yeah, I honestly don't know what my earliest... There are several games that could have been. So it could have been the first Crash Bandicoot game at my friend's place on PlayStation. It could have been first Spyro game at a friend's place on PlayStation. So we're talking sort of 90s, quite, near the end of the 90s, I get. No. Yeah, we're talking near the end of the 90s because I was born in 95. So we're talking, probably 97, 98. Those games have been out for a while by then, but still. I distinctly remember also playing, the second and third of each of those franchises. Love them. But I think the first one was the first experiences I had with them. Other really early gaming experiences would have been stuff like Jazz Jackrabbit 2, which is still probably my favorite platforming game. I distinctly remember I would have been 5 or 6 at a friend's birthday party. And this friend was turning 5 or 6 as well, I think. Maybe 6 or 7. Because I started. In New Zealand, you have to start primary school by 6, but you can start at 5. Most started later. I started at 5. Or rather, because it was my birthday's 1st of January, you have to start in the year that you turn 16. No. Yeah, or something weird like that. No, 6 or something weird like that, right? So something because of my date of birth, I had to start when I was 5, which meant I was younger than most people. Anyways, guess what game was being played that everyone was taking turns with? 5, 6, 7-year-olds.
Chance the Rapper.
I don't know what that is. No, it was...
That's what I heard you say, unless I misheard you. I probably did.
Guess what game was being played that kids were taking turns with at this birthday party, and everyone there was 5, 6, or 7. Guess what game?
Crash Bandicoot?
Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I distinctly remember playing that. That made a bit of an impression on me. No one was actually going on killing sprees.
Where you steal cars and get to kill hookers.
Here's the thing, no one was going on killing sprees. We were just stealing cars and getting in car chases with the cops. Which isn't much better, I know. And suddenly this, along with me watching Elfin Lead and Serial Experiments Lane when I was, 12, 13, suddenly everything about me makes a lot more sense, right?
It does.
By the way, the other thing that's going to make everything make sense, when I was about 6, I read the completely unabridged book version of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Which, if you've never read it, Quasimodo and Esmeralda both die at the end, and Esmeralda is like disgusted and loathes and repulsed by Quasimodo till the end. It's miserable. It's a damn good book, but yeah, suddenly everything about me makes that little bit more sense. Am I right?
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Pardon me, but yeah. So that's kind of my very early gaming memories, and mostly those, I guess.
Yeah.
How about you? What else for your very early sort of?
Like I said, my first game was Starfighter, and the game was pretty linear.
Oh, I've left some others out, but no, my uncle had a Nintendo 64 as well. So I spent a lot of time when I was at his, or my grandparents, because he was in his early 20s, I think, at that point, and he was still living with them. Not that there's anything wrong with that, I'm just saying. Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Star Fox, this Nintendo 64 Star Fox game, Jet Force Gemini, some very good games, Banjo-Kazooie, and Banjo-Tooie. Some very good games. But what really stuck with me was Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And that's when I became a Zelda fanboy. Well, somewhat. But yes.
Yeah, like I said, my first game was Star Wars Starfighter.
My apologies for interrupting.
It's okay. My first game was Star Wars Starfighter. The game was pretty linear, but what was cool about it was...
Right.
How do I put it? Like, I want to say, like, it switched you out between 3 different starships. Like, there was a there was a Naboo fighter, another one that looked like a B-wing, and then there was this other one that was a bomber that was just a beast. They all felt differently. They all played differently. They had different strengths and weaknesses. So it was a pretty well-balanced game.
Okay. I have decided that noises I have, for those listening, if you can hear that, I decided I need some fucking water because my throat is sore and we've just gotten started.
You should probably keep a water bottle handy from now on.
I normally just do glasses of water. But the problem is a cup or a glass of water will only last me like 20 minutes at the rate that I drink. That was. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a waterholic.
I think you mean aquaholic. I think you mean aquaholic.
Fuck you too, motherfucker. Just for that, I'm gonna fucking bomb your place. Just for that, I'm gonna drop a nuke on you.
Well, if it's any consolation, you'll probably end up irradiating Seattle.
What makes you think my plan isn't just to carpet bomb all of Washington State with nukes for like a week?
Can you just bomb Western Washington because everything east of the Cascades is pretty red?
Are you in East or Western?
I'm in West.
Nah, whole state, sorry.
But yeah, that was I also got the sequel to Starfighter, Jedi Starfighter, which I think was a bit of a downgrade because you went from 3 ships to 2.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and that one was basically Attack of the Clones. They were the thing about these 2 games is that they were kind of supplemental material to the movies. Like, they had
Right.
so they might reference what was going on in the movies, but they were their own stories. It was like
see.
It was like you ever what was the name of that one Star Wars game? I forget what it was like. It was kind of a supplement to Empire Strikes Back. I cannot remember the name. Had a guy named Dash Rendar or something.
I know the game you mean, but I can't remember the fucking game name.
Okay, I'm just gonna link it.
But
up.
I know of it.
Let me look it up. But yeah. Well, I think of other things I played. One. Let's see. Another game I really got into, which was also another Star Wars game, was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic came to me later. It would have been, I think, early teens, and it was KOTOR 2 first.
Yeah.
And then KOTOR 1.
The thing was, like...
And to this day, I prefer KOTOR 2.
Yeah, well, the thing was, KOTOR was my first RPG, and I had no idea what an RPG was like. I thought it was going to be like an action game.
Oh!
How wrong was I?
KOTOR is not an action game.
I was very young at the time. I was like 12 or something. I don't think I didn't get it. It was my first RPG.
Right, that reminds me. I need to finish the replay of KOTOR I started at the beginning of the year and then stopped because this laptop died.
Another Star Wars game that I played, which was this one was a shooter, was Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast.
Yeah, that one I've always heard good things about that franchise. The Jedi Knight series.
Yeah. And in fact, looking back on it,
and I think that one's generally considered the best, isn't it? Of that.
Actually, I think people
series.
I think it's good, but I think people seem to prefer like either the first Jedi Knight or Jedi Academy.
Okay.
No, but yeah.
I just remember the Outcast being the one I always heard about the most.
Yeah. One thing about Outcast is it tapped a lot of people who would go on to become well-known voice actors very early in their careers. Like got people like Jeff Bennett, Katsuchi. Although Katsuchi was not an unknown quantity at that time. She had been in Rugrats.
I'm gonna pretend I know who these people are.
And also had Steve Blum in it.
Yay for Steve fucking Blum. By the way, I just have to say about the Wolf's Rain dubcast, it is not fair to have Crispin Freeman and Steve Blum in one dub together. It's just not fair. There's too much awesome rumbling weakness. Let alone, oh man, I'm blanking on his name, but the guy who plays Quint as well is the same sort of thing.
Tom Weiner?
Yeah. Yes, Tom Weiner. Another great, deep, low voice. But yeah.
But yeah, other game... But yeah, that's basically me at the early stages of gaming. A lot of Star Wars games. I'm trying to remember where I really branched out from that. I think when I was like 17... No, or what? No, 15. 15, my dad got me Halo 2. Which I really loved at the time. Not as big into Halo as I am now. My brother is more the Halo nut.
Right.
But Halo, that was a fun game.
Right. Yeah, so I kind of... Oh, Age of Empires and Age of Empires 2 were huge things for me as well. I still play Age of Empires 2. But yeah, then we kind of get to my teens where I start playing more. And I start playing stuff like old Castlevania games and old Zelda games and all of this sort of old Nintendo games on emulators. And I'm playing, all sorts of stuff. I play, Icewind Dale games, Neverwinter Nights and Neverwinter Nights 2, KOTOR 2, KOTOR, all this kind of game. A lot of RPGs, a lot of And I'm blanking on specific games, the BioShock games. You get the idea. Yeah, I'm kind of out of specific games that I can think of, even though there were plenty of them.
Oh, was one I forgot to mention.
Yep.
When I was 15, I asked my dad for Christmas to get me the Warcraft 3 battle chest.
Nice. I've never played Warcraft 3, but I've always heard good things.
It is. It to this day is my favorite game of all time.
I guess I have no excuse to not get it sometime, eh?
But yeah, as my gaming tastes have evolved, other games I ended up trying out. One that I really loved was you could kind of consider this a GTA clone.
The GTA games obviously were huge things for me throughout my life.
Yeah, well, me, I ended up becoming more. I got more into Saints Row.
I could never get into those games, man.
Yeah.
Partly because the couple that I played on PC, the PC controls were terrible.
Yeah, this game was...
And the gameplay was clunky, and I just couldn't get into them. I'm sure they're fine games, but I couldn't get into them.
I would probably be the first to admit they played better on console.
Right. Oh, dude, I forgot a couple of other major games. The Fallout games, got into them through Fallout 3, then New Vegas. And of course, my favorite game of all time, Morrowind! Which got me into the other Elder Scrolls games, but Morrowind was always my favorite, and it is my favorite video game ever. I played that so much.
I started on Elder Scrolls with Oblivion.
Depressed 15, 16-year-old me from when I was about that age to, all of high school. That game was like I've had a miserable day at school. I need to escape from how depressed I am. Boom, sit down in front of Morrowind. Because that game, that game world, my brain is not working well. I almost said that world game again. That game world is like no other. It is so absorbing. And the music, it is such a perfect game, in my opinion. Well, I mean, it's flawed, but to me, it's perfect. Another game
you'll love Daggerfall.
Nah, I don't love Daggerfall.
Really?
It's so randomly, because so much of it's auto-generated, and it feels very samey. Morrowind had that alien cool world, and Daggerfall's controls are iffy, as are Arena's. I don't dislike either Daggerfall or Arena, but they're not up there with Morrowind. I like Oblivion the next most. Oblivion is really good, and Skyrim I like all right, but it can be quite kind of dull and samey.
Yeah. I don't know. The defense
Skyrim is too simplified.
Yeah.
In terms of the RPG elements.
The defense I've seen with Daggerfall is that it's the Elder Scrolls game with the most features.
Yes. Problem is that most of them aren't that great.
Well, okay, now we got an interesting dilemma. Daggerfall has too much, Skyrim has too little.
Yeah. Skyrim has too little for my taste. As an open world simulator, it's great, but I want something that's a mix of open world simulator and RPG.
Personally, I would actually say Skyrim does not meet the requirements for an RPG because, for one, your character never gets a class.
You can still play a role without getting a class, but I prefer classes. And do you know why I prefer classes? Because hey, guess what?
They feel distinct.
Guess what? For role-playing games, some limitations are good. You have to think within the... I role-play RPG games a lot. That is to say, I create a character and play through as that character. right?
You don't insert yourself.
No, I create a character and I do it much like I would in a
play.
No, in a tabletop game.
Also,
and to the point where I have like a character's monologue. To the point where I have a character's monologue going on, so I'll be saying stuff like out loud and all this. I probably look nuts, but it's a more fun way to play for me, and it adds a lot of dimension and depth to it, right? And so the thing with classes, and the same particularly with tabletop RPGs, classes give you limitations, which means you have to think within that class, within that character. It helps you role play. You get me?
Yeah, and the role playing with Skyrim is, well, frankly, kind of weak.
Indeed. Indeed.
I mean, it's hard to even call it role playing if you ask me.
Skyrim. People say Skyrim has the best gameplay of the Elder Scrolls games.
Debatable.
I find Skyrim's combat much less satisfying than Oblivion's. And likewise, Morrowind gets criticized a lot for it'll look like you've hit them, but you've missed because of the dice roll. It's all decided by randomized die rolls, right? I don't have a problem with that because, again, that's very tabletop-y. So I enjoy Oblivion and Morrowind's gameplay more than I enjoy Skyrim's gameplay.
It feels more authentic.
Yeah, Oblivion feels more like... Oblivion's gameplay is not perfect. I'm never going to say it is. But it feels like it still has ties to RPG mechanics. And it's more satisfying to use, whereas Skyrim's feels still clunky. So Oblivion's is a little clunky, but it feels like it's got those links there, right? So you can so that's fine. Skyrim is still clunky. It's overly streamlined, and it doesn't feel like it has any ties in the way combat works to RPG mechanics.
Probably the best translation I've seen from tabletop to video game would have to be Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Bloodlines, yeah. I have my issues with Bloodlines, but that is a pretty damn good game.
Yes, it's arguable that it's probably a game with one of the best stories.
The ending kills it.
Well,
kills that for me. It's a great story for most of it, but the ending is just so ridiculous I can't take it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, one single vampire storming an office tower, like it's a fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie.
Yeah. I would say the best stories in actually here we go. What do you think are some of the best gaming stories? Video game stories.
That is a good one.
I'm gonna start with an obvious one that has kind of fallen out of favor, but BioShock Infinite. That has a hell of a story. I love that game. I've still not played the expansion. Sorry, the DLC that expands from it, the Burial at Sea Parts 1 and 2. Though I have them. I need to play them. But yeah, BioShock Infinite has one of my favorites.
I would also I would throw in Final Fantasy. Wait for it. Not 7.
If you say 13, I'm going to kill you.
I'm not going to say 13. I'm not going to say 7 either.
Right.
I'm going to go with 6.
I've not played through all of 6. I always meant to, but I'm bad with motivation, so whilst I love big RPGs, there are many I have started and never finished. You know what I'm going to say?
What?
Another one? Xenogears. Fuck yes, Xenogears. Xenogears was actually originally pitched as a Final Fantasy game. But they went, nah. This is too thinky. And so Final Fantasy VII became the next Final Fantasy game, and Xenogears became its own thing. Also, the Chrono games, both Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. I know a lot of people are big fans of Chrono Cross. I love it. I think it's better. I like it more than Chrono Trigger. But both of them have great stories, I think.
I would probably also throw in the Thief games. And I mean the original Thief games.
I have them and have not yet played them.
Yeah.
The Baldur's Gate games. The Baldur's Gate games. To me, do such a great job of telling a really great, like, tabletop RPG kind of story in video game format. And I'm looking at game. Okay. Grand Theft Auto 4. That game has some gameplay issues, but boy, does it tell a great story.
I hear 5 is,
Dragon
I hear 5
Age the
does it
First. I've not played 5.
Yeah. I would also. I'd throw
the
in,
first Dragon Age game.
Oh yeah, I love Dragon Age Origins. That was good. That was about as.
Also,
that was the last good.
Fallout.
Dragon Age Origins was the last good BioWare game, if you ask me.
Arguably. I mean, it's the last one I played. While we're talking about BioWare, Jade Empire.
I've always meant to play that.
And KOTOR and KOTOR 2. Yeah. KOTOR 2 with the added stuff, definitely. Fallout Vegas also.
Planescape Eternal Torment.
Planescape Torment. I have that, and it's another one that I've never been able to finish because it's so long and I just lose. But I need to. I want to. I love what I've played of it. What else am I thinking of? There was another game that I was thinking of that I think...
I'd also throw in Deus Ex.
Yes, Deus Ex, yeah, the original for sure.
Although Human Revolution is pretty good too.
I'm going through my Steam library, looking at games that I've played through all the way that have great stories.
Okay, here's an interesting debate. Would you consider the story of Metal Gear Solid to be good?
I have not played any of the Metal Gear Solid games, so I can't weigh in on that. They're on the list.
I'll have to get the other Sam on this for that one then. He loves Metal Gear Solid.
How about... would you count the Half-Life games, Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2, as being great stories?
I hear they're good stories, and I'll just concede to popular opinion this one time because I've never...
Oh, you've not played them?
I remember watching my brother play Half-Life 2.
My God. I'd say they're pretty damn good, yeah. I'm shocked that you've never played them.
I did play Portal.
Portal is awesome. Portal is not really much of a story, though. But it's great.
There is a story there, but it's more in the...
Yeah.
It's more in the story's more in the environment.
Portal gets really... the first Portal game gets really uncomfortable to play after an hour or two. You know why?
Why?
Because it has such an atmosphere of isolation and loneliness. You are so alone. The only things that are there other than you are GLaDOS, who is constantly mocking and trying to kill you, and the turrets who don't want to kill you, but are still trying to because that's how they're programmed. That game gets... And there are reminders everywhere that of all the other people who have tried to get out and who have died doing so.
Oh, you want to talk about a game that gets super uncomfortable to play? Check out Spec Ops: The Line.
I've got that one. You know what the ultimate game though for uncomfortable to play because of atmosphere is? What? Pathologic. Russian indie developer psychological / survival horror game from the early mid-2000s.
Wow.
It's a brilliant game. I've never been able to complete it because it's so hard.
You know, if we're talking about uncomfortable survival horror and good story, we need to include Silent Hill.
Which I've also not played because console. The amount of console games I've played, there's not that many. I'm trying to think, come on, man, other than Nintendo ones.
Although if anyone's listening, do not get the remastered Silent Hill collection. It sucks.
Really? What's wrong with it?
It's buggy as all hell.
Damn. Man, I know there's another game or two that I was thinking of for great stories, but I'm blanking and it's not... Oh, I mentioned the KOTOR games, so it's not those. Man, there's some great video game stories out there.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, there really are. I keep hearing
Wait.
Last of Us is a really good story, though. Trevor.
Same, but I don't have a PS3, so.
I have a PS4 and it's been remastered for the PS4. Luckily, Trevor's been
Remastered.
Yeah, Trevor's been.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. I just was so funny the way you said remastered there. It's remastered. When did you turn into a New York cat?
Remastered for the PS4, and Trevor has been pressuring me into getting it.
Right. Oh shit! There was a game not for story, but so you say Dragon Age Origins was the last good BioWare game in your opinion?
Yeah.
What about Mass Effect?
The first one was good. Second one is not much changed. Third went up the rails. I am not touching Andromeda, and I am never. Never gonna let BioWare live down these 3 words. It is my mission in life to make sure they never live down these 3 words. Softcore space porn. That was a BioWare. Those actual words used to describe the game.
Wait, Mass Effect Andromeda? Don't you mean Mass Effect Andromeda? No one. Don't explain the joke. Don't explain the joke. But I have tried really hard to get into the first Mass Effect game. Boy, oh boy, can I not get into that game. The gameplay is clunky. I've gotten maybe 3 hours in at the most. The gameplay is quite clunky. The dialogue, what the? Even the first one has really, obvious dialogue. You know what I mean? Not very smartly written. It's very kind of awkward and clunky. I don't really care. The world of it is kind of generic, standard sci-fi. I can't really get into it. But yeah.
I'll just repeat what I said. Softcore space porn.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another thing that I've done that I found fun. I've noticed BioWare posting out job openings on their Facebook page. And so just to be a smartass, I type in the comments, now, do you guys hire based on merit/qualifications, or do people with brown skin get hired faster?
I don't know that it's just people with brown skin. I'm sure if you're Jewish, they'll hire you in an instant as well. I bet you if you looked at the people working at Mass Effect, 90% of the white people working there are probably Jews. Just like when you look at all the rich white people, 90% of them are Jews. Make of that what you wish, people listening. It's just annoying when they go, X is white and thus white people are evil. Look at all these evil rich white people. White people, it's like, but they're Jews and Jews are Semitic, not white. Jews are not, seriously. Warriors may say, white means of Indo-European descent. Semitic peoples do not count. So there you go. Jews are closer to Arabs because they're both Semitics. And I'm sure neither the Arabs nor the Jews would like to hear that. But it's true because they're both Semitic peoples. God. There goes anyone who would listen to this show. Jews and Arabs are closer to Jews and whites. No one will listen now.
Okay, now are we trying to court the 1488 crowd? Because, dude, what's our target audience now?
No. I don't think we could court them and talk about... Not what we're talking about, anime and video games. Some of those people call video games the electric Jew. I think,
funny thing is, when I put one of my troll comments on a BioWare job opening page, one guy responded with, "No, having brown skin helps, but what matters is that you're somehow an oppressed minority." And I respond
Right.
with, and of course I
Like a
respond with,
genderqueer,
"I'm Irish. I know all about being oppressed."
But you're not a genderqueer, trisexual, or whatever the fuck it is. So, sorry.
Yeah, well, we got 700 years worth of historical oppression, so fuck you.
Oh, you'll fuck. Oh, I'm with you on that. I'm just saying they won't count it. God damn. Right. Okay. Enough about BioWare.
Yes, BioWare sucks now. You shouldn't buy their games anymore.
No. Old games of BioWare, fuck yes. New games of BioWare.
Pretty much, in other words, everything after Dragon Age Origins, don't buy it.
What?
Everything after Dragon Age Origins, don't buy.
Basically, yeah. And I have a hunch that I would have a lot more fun. I have the hunch that I would have a better experience downing 10 times the recommended, dosage or whatever of laxatives, and then sitting on the toilet for 12 hours shitting my guts out than I would have playing that last Dragon Age game that they made.
Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah, because that was the last game they made rather than just releasing.
Yeah, by the way, Dragon Age Inquisition is what happens when 14-year-olds try writing Game of Thrones.
Dragon Age Inquisition was like almost Skyrim levels of overly simplified, quote, RPG, end quote. I can't confirm if that's true or not, but this is what I've heard. Have you played it?
I did.
Would it be fair to say that it was incredibly overly simplified in that way?
Probably, yeah. Like I said, the worst mark against it is the writing, because, like I said, it's basically what happens when a 14-year-old tries to write Game of Thrones.
A meme page, like a British meme page, my older mate posted this. I've got to read this because it's posted a bunch of pictures, and here's one of my older memes and a new meme to cap it all off. Have fun reading the shitty Peter Hitchens-centered dystopian fan fiction. First picture of Peter Hitchens holding a gun, and it says, "The year is 2020. The Green Party has been elected. Peter Hitchens has had enough." I'm laughing already, and I've not even read it. Anyway, Peter Hitchens has said someone asked him on Twitter what he thinks of all the memes about him, and he says some of them are quite funny. And that there's no point fighting with stuff like that because he's never going to be able to control it. So praise King Peter Hitchens approves of the meme culture around him. Not actively trying to court right-wingers. We just are right-wingers.
Yeah, we are.
This is tame for us, but by the way, this is us not trying to talk politics. So...
I mean, don't get me ranting about just don't get me ranting about what the next election for Seattle's mayor is going to look like, because...
Yes, indeed. How long have we been recording?
Oh, let's take a look. 1 hour, 24 minutes.
All right, we had... Shit, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. Well, we did talk about what we've been watching for quite a while. So shall we get on to types of games that we love and examples of these types of games?
Yes, that's a good...
Instead of doing types of games and favorites as separates, we'll do them together.
Yeah, good idea. Sam, how about you take the floor, Sam?
Okay, so my kind of... I'm a big sucker for RPGs, particularly computer RPGs. So that's anything from a Baldur's Gate kind of game to a Morrowind. Favorite examples would be, again, Morrowind, the Baldur's Gate games. I've not managed to finish it because it's really long, but Pillars of Eternity, based on what I've played with that, is definitely well up there for that kind of game.
Dude, if you love those, I gotta hook you up with the Shadowrun games. You'll fucking love those.
I have Shadowrun. I have... Wait. Is it Shadowrun? The recent-ish released one? But I don't have any of the expansions for it. Yeah, I have Shadowrun Returns, but none of the expansions. I need to get the expansions. But I have that on Steam. I love that kind of game. I love open worldy games that, or fairly open worldish games, games where you have a lot of choice in what you can do. Oh, I forgot to mention the Pokemon games. The first 2 gens of Pokemon games were huge influences on me. My uncle lent me his original Game Boy. And yeah, I played those a lot. The first gen. And then I got into second gen later when I got a Game Boy Advance. Where was I?
If you got...
yeah, open worldy games where you have a lot of choices. So again, Morrowind would be an example of that. Fallout 3 would be an example of that. Fallout New Vegas would be an example that combines open world and RPG, though it is of course not a PC RPG, but it is an RPG.
Hey, dude, if you love Pokemon games, if you can get this on your phone, try grabbing Pocket Morty's. It's basically Pokemon with a Rick and Morty skin.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I won't be able to get it on because it's an old, outdated phone, but I will see what I can do. I love platformers as well. A good old school platformer. So something like the old Castlevania games or Judge Jackrabbit 2 or those old Sonic games or any of that kind of thing. Crash Bandicoot, Spyro. The original 3 Spyro games. Mixed platforming and open world. Hence why they're amongst my favorite games ever. I do like console RPGs as well. A great example of that would be Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne / Lucifer's Call. It was called Lucifer's Call here, but it was called Nocturne everywhere but here in Australia, which is a fucking awesome game that shout out to Deante. When I got my PS2, I was going, dude, what game should I get? And he recommended this one, and they were still selling it new some places. So I got a new copy for like $10. This was just before the PS3 got replaced by the PS4. So some places were still selling some PS2 games. So what are some of your favorite types of games? Examples?
I fucking love spaceflight sims.
Okay.
Examples of that would
Fair
be...
enough.
Good examples of that would be like Elite Dangerous. That one's a fairly recent affair, but it's good. I'd also include... as much as I like the Starfighter games, I would have to say Rogue Squadron is better.
Right. Oh, dude, you know what Star Wars games were awesome? Battlefield and Battlefield. Not Battlefield. Battlefield is not what I'm thinking. Battlefront and Battlefront 2.
Yeah, those were
great games.
Those were awesome. Battlefront 2 was the best.
Yes. Now, I've heard that the latest Battlefront got a lot better after a bunch of added stuff.
Yeah, but it's still basically a Battlefield game with a Star Wars skin, though.
I still kind of want it just because you can play as the Rogue One characters in the final battle.
You can.
And that sounds like awesomeness to me.
You can.
But I think I'll stick to Battlefront 2 for my Battlefront needs.
Yeah. If you really want to get a game that rides that fine line between just being a space flight sim and being a full-on simulator, look up X-Wing.
Oh yes, I've heard of that one. I've heard that. Very good.
Let me put it this way: that game is not for the layman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might be a bit hard for me then.
Yeah,
I'm not good at that kind of game necessarily.
Yeah, I remember playing a flight simulator back in middle school. Not for fun.
Did you ever play?
It was for a class.
Did you ever play Flight Sim? Like the flight simulator games called Flight Simulator?
Yeah, I believe that was it.
Those were hard as balls.
Well, that was the point.
Yep. They were fun once you got the hang of it, but Jesus Christ.
There were some kids who thought they were funny and would just would try and reenact 9/11.
Dude, speaking of school, so in our computer class one year, we had a teacher who didn't really care if you didn't do the work because fuck it. If you don't want to work, fuck it. Right, you get that? Just don't be interrupting others. That led to people from the that led to a few times someone bringing in Age of Empires 2 on a USB stick, and then anyone who didn't want to work is just like, yeah. And so we used to play Age of Empires 2 during computers class with other students who didn't care about work. Most of them were on top of it. I just didn't care because I couldn't understand it. So there you go.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty cool teacher.
He was. He had a weird name. His name was American. He was ex-American military, and his name was Mr. Sullenberger.
Well, that's a
Sullenberger. I'm serious. This was a real name.
That is a very German name if I ever heard it.
He was a cool dude, man. Cool dude. But yeah.
Yeah. Other games I'm a huge fan of. Real-time strategy. Stuff like Warcraft, StarCraft, Alpha Centauri. I want to get into Civilization.
Age of Empires 2 is my RTS game. Age of Empires and Age of Empires 2. Yeah. Mostly Age of Empires 2. Also, but I'm not as big a fan of the other RTS games for some reason.
Also Command and Conquer.
Oh, Season 2 is good.
Also Command and Conquer.
Okay.
Command and Conquer, you've got to like just because it inspired the Trump Hell March. Like, you've probably seen...
The what march?
Dude, have you ever seen any of those videos that feature the right-wing death squads, and it's got that guitar of dun, 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 dun,
maybe?
Dun, dun. That's...
I might have.
That is from Command and Conquer.
Not sure.
Just look up look up Hell March, Command and Conquer on YouTube. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Command and Conquer, especially the Red Alert series, that one was really fucking cool because the premise of that series is that Albert Einstein invents a time machine to go back and prevent Hitler from rising to power. There's a slight problem with that.
I think I played one of the Command and Conquer games, actually.
Yeah, well, like I said.
Because I remember you could nuke people in that, eh?
Yeah, I just want to say, though.
Eventually.
Yeah, but still, I just want to say.
Because I remember nuking people in that game, and that was always fun.
Yeah. Now, like I said, Albert Einstein travels back in time to prevent Hitler from rising to power. But there is a slight problem with that plan. Sam, what could that problem possibly be?
Albert Einstein goes back in time to try and prevent Hitler. I'm not sure.
Well, by preventing Hitler from rising to power, he makes it much easier for a worse guy to get in.
Oh. Wait, was it a commie?
Yes.
Oh, no. So, like, German Stalin?
No, just regular Stalin.
Stalin conquers Germany.
Yup. Stalin conquers
What
Europe.
game was this again?
Command and Conquer Red Alert.
All right, I think I played a different Command and Conquer.
Yeah, you probably played the regular series that features Kane as the villain.
Probably. Those were ones where you could go through different... No, it was Rise of Nations I was thinking of.
Huh.
Did you ever play any of those?
I don't think so.
They were fun games. They were civilization builder type games where you could genuinely, or it was a civilization game, builder kind of game similar to Age of Empires 2, but you could advance through to modern days and you could get nukes and nuke people.
That does sound pretty cool. But yeah,
It was awesome.
Yeah, what's really cool about the Red Alert series is that the third one, they had FMV scenes. And I shit you not, here's who they got in the There were like 3 factions. You had a Russian faction, a Japanese faction, an American faction. And they all had their own distinct commanders. The Japanese had The Japanese had George Takei.
Oh, back when George Takei didn't suck.
The Russians have Tim Curry.
Tim Curry, please tell me he did a hilariously terrible Russian accent.
It's Tim Curry. You guess.
He did a hilariously terrible Russian accent. Thank God I need to hear this.
Yeah.
I need to hear what this was like.
The best one, though, the American version, has the dirtiest player in the game. The limousine riding, jet flying, wheeling dealing, kiss stealing, son of a gun, the nature boy Ric Flair. Woo!
Oh, wow. Oh, good God. I'm looking through Wikipedia's list of RTS games to try and remember an RTS game I used to play that I don't have anymore that was really quite good. This is taking a while.
Well, while you're on that, I will also include RPGs. I fucking love RPGs. My favorites include KOTOR, obviously.
Yeah.
Vampire the Masquerade.
Cossacks. Cossacks was the name. It was Cossacks.
Huh. With a name like Cossacks, I wonder what you play as.
Cossacks European Wars. It was. It was a good game.
But yeah. My favorites include KOTOR, obviously.
Right.
Dragon Age Origins, obviously. I also love Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, obviously. And also, I hear scuttlebutt that White Wolf's parent company has teamed up with a French studio to produce a game for Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Okay. Dude, I just remembered one of the greatest video game stories of all time that I was going to mention. A studio that made Vampire... It was from Troika, who made Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. And it was, in my opinion, an even better game. But it was flawed, but in terms of the story and the role-playing elements, absolutely phenomenal. Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura. Fucking awesome and readily available from GOG.
Cool.
Get it, motherfuckers. Good old games.
Yeah, those are just a few of the RPGs I do like. I'm also a huge fan of Mecha Sims. I love the Mech Warrior games.
The what games?
Mech Warrior.
I've never heard of them.
Really? There's like a ton of games for BattleTech and Mech Warrior.
Okay, I'm not familiar with Mech Warrior. I've heard of BattleTech. My brain is not working.
And he's not, and he hasn't even had any alcohol.
No, I'm just tired. And shit. It's just a weird day for me.
But yeah, I love them. But yeah, the MechWarrior games, they are fun because like X-Wing, they ride that fine line of being a game, and being a simulator. Kind of is played best with a joystick because you're piloting a giant bipedal walking tank that is carrying a heavy payload. So you've got a targeted reticle that is about the size of my microphone.
I see.
Yeah, you're kind of meant to aim in a general direction and just let loose a whole bunch of missiles.
Okay, that sounds kind of awesome.
And if I can get a word in edgewise, I would say we'll probably. I'm not sure if we'd ever get mechs in the future ever for warfare. Be kind of cool if we did. But I'd have to say that when it comes to mecha, Western mecha have more practical designs than Japanese mecha.
And Japanese ones, but Japanese ones are so much cooler.
They look cooler, sure, but the thing is, like, the Japanese mecha are meant to be based off a human. There's too many joints and too many moving parts, and it doesn't take a genius to know that the more moving parts you put into a machine, the more something can go wrong.
I suppose. I don't know. Either way, if mech warfare becomes a thing, that's the day I will consider joining up to the army. Joining up for the army.
Yeah,
Just saying.
Like I said, I think if mechs ever become part of warfare, we're probably gonna see stuff that's more like BattleTech because, well, a lot of the mechs in BattleTech, they were based off real machines. So they're more practical.
They probably have to be like. I see. But mechs are not like to happen. Mech warfare is not likely to ever cross over. My computer's frozen. Oh, there we go. It unfroze.
Yeah, can you repeat what you said there? Because I kind of lost you.
And I was going, you still there, man? Right. I think I'm at least kind of nearly out of things to say so far. How about you?
Oh.
That's vital to say.
I could say that I got a soft spot for stealth games also.
Okay, that could be good.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of some
hardest, fairly hard, like cheaper. Well, okay, let's not just say cheap. What's the hardest video game you've ever played?
Dark Souls.
Sorry, cut off the first part of what you said.
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls is nothing. Shake on forever, man. Have you ever played that one?
No, I did not even hear it until now.
I think it was the Genesis game. On the emulator once because I'd heard it was infamously hard. I think I died within like 5 or 10 minutes the first time I tried playing it.
Really?
Very hard. Cool, but very hard. So there we go.
Alright. Wow. Yeah.
We're on a weird note, shall we?
Yeah.
This has come up in my Facebook news feed. Speaking of video games, well, kind of, there is a rabbit apocalypse happening in Second Life.
Really?
Yeah, so, they're going to go into permanent, quote, hibernation because they can't access bunny food anymore. So they're going to die. So they're basically all going to die.
Oh my god.
Rabbits are dying. Although you could purchase an item that would make them eternal, which means they wouldn't be able to breed but wouldn't need food anymore. So a ton of rabbits are dying. So because what happened was the company that operates them was hit with a cease and desist letter from an asset creator who says they weren't compensated for their work in creating them. And so I'm reading for the AV Club. Here's a great funny quote for you. And so the company's feeding servers were shut down on Wednesday, and the ticking 72-hour clock counting to the sleepy rabbit genocide began. They're going to permanent hibernation technically. So there we go. Rabbit genocide and Second Life. That's a thing to end on, isn't it?
No, here's a thing to end on. Leroy Jenkins.
Oh God, dude, there will be people. There may be people listening to this who don't know what that is.
That is like one of the oldest memes in history.
Yeah, but because it's old, there are people who don't know what it means now, who've never heard of it now.
Okay, well, time for a little history lesson, children. Gather around.
No, we're just leaving it with that, with us feeling old, okay? Look up Leroy Jenkins if you don't know what it is. It's a very famous meme.
Yes.
But it's also like a decade old, if not more.
Perfect thing to end on, though.
Decade old meme. And my laughter.
Alright, so be with us next week when I torture Sam with Rolling Stone's top 100 greatest guitarists. There will be alcohol.
There's going to need to be, because if I recall correctly, that list is all basic bitch choices and guys who, why the fuck are they on there?
Yeah.
But yeah.
It'll be fun. It's going to be fun.
And I can't.